Simon Ekpa, the self-styled leader linked to a faction of the indigenous people of Biafra, has been arrested, charged, and is now on trial in Finland for offenses described by Finnish authorities as terrorism-related. This is a big development because Ekpa has been a very visible and vocal figure, broadcasting messages and issuing directives to his followers in Nigeria from Finland. Finland's prosecution says his actions included public incitement to commit crimes with terrorist intent and other offenses tied to violent activity in Nigeria. The Nigerian federal government has welcomed Finland's move. Abuja says the arrest and prosecution came after sustained diplomatic pressure and has praised Finland for taking action against activities it says threatened peace and stability in the southeast. The presidency and the foreign ministry have publicly commended Finland for cooperating with Nigeria on this matter. Let me put this plainly so everyone understands. Ekpa, who lives in Lahti, Finland, has been accused not just of making fiery speeches online, but of encouraging violence and even supporting armed activity in parts of Nigeria. Finnish prosecutors have produced what they say is evidence tying his online messaging and activities to real-world harm. The authorities in Finland opened a formal case and put him in custody while the court process goes on. This case matters for three big reasons. First, it shows that a person living abroad can be held accountable by the country where they live for actions that fuel violence elsewhere. Second, it strengthens the hands of the Nigerian government in arguing that the separatist agitation which has led to unrest, economic loss and deaths is not just political speech but can cross the line into criminal activity. Third, it raises questions about free speech, online organizing, and how countries cooperate across borders to stop violence. Those are serious issues that affect ordinary people, businesses, and communities. I need you to do one thing for me right now. Like this video if you haven't already, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss updates on this developing story. Hit that like button and subscribe, it helps a lot. Thank you. Say it now, like and subscribe. Back to the gist. Some background. The indigenous people of Biafra, or IPOB, is a movement pushing for independence for the southeast region of Nigeria. The group and some of its offshoots have been at odds with the federal government for years. The security agencies have blamed the movement for enforcing violent sit-at-home orders, targeted attacks, and disruption of economic life in parts of the southeast. The federal government banned IPOB and designated some of its activities as criminal. Ekpa rose to prominence as an online leader and organizer after the arrest of another leading figure, and he commanded attention through social media broadcasts and directives to followers. That proximity between online calls and on-the-ground incidents is what brought scrutiny. Let me be clear to everyone listening. Being outspoken or criticizing government is one thing. It is protected speech in many democracies. But when speech crosses into encouraging violence, arranging logistics, or supplying materials for attacks, it becomes a criminal matter. Finland's legal action focuses on those lines, whether Ekpa's words and acts actively encouraged or helped commit violent acts. That is the core legal question in the courtroom in Lahti. Now, how did we get here? Finnish police detained Ekpa in November last year as part of a wider probe that reportedly involved several people. Finnish prosecutors later filed charges saying the alleged actions took place between August 2021 and November 2024. Finland's National Prosecution Authority framed the case as involving public incitement to commit crimes with terrorist intent and participation in terrorist group activities. Ekpa has denied the charges, but the court process has continued, with Finnish prosecutors asking for a multi-year sentence in some reports. Nigeria's reaction has been strongly affirmative. The presidency and the foreign ministry have both publicly welcomed Finland's move, framing it as an example of successful international cooperation. The government says it provided information and evidence that helped Finnish authorities take action. Officials in Abuja argue this cooperation underlines that the global community can assist in tackling threats that cross borders. That line of argument is important for the government because it shifts part of the conversation from a domestic policing issue to an international law and order success. A few practical questions people want to know. Will Ekpa be extradited to Nigeria if convicted, and what happens next? Extradition is possible, but it depends on legal processes and formal requests. If Finland convicts him under its own laws, The immediate consequence is a Finnish sentence that he must serve, unless an appeal changes the outcome. Nigeria may still pursue extradition or other legal routes, especially if Abuja wants to try him under Nigerian statutes. But international law, human rights concerns, and the specifics of bilateral agreements will shape whether Finland hands him over. Expect legal teams and diplomatic channels to remain active. Think about the impact on the ground in Nigeria. For many people in the southeast, this case is mixed news. Some will feel vindicated that the international community is acknowledging harm caused by violent directives. Others will see Ekpa as a political figure and may view the action as targeting a movement that has legitimate grievances. There is also the risk of local sympathizers reacting emotionally to actions taken abroad, which could spark protests or demonstrations. Security planners in Nigeria will have to manage those risks carefully. Let's talk economics for a moment. The unrest linked to separatist agitation has taken a real toll on commerce in the southeast. Repeated lockdowns and sit-at-home orders hurt small businesses, transport services, and markets. The government and business leaders frequently estimate losses in the billions of naira because of interrupted trade. If prosecutions abroad reduce the influence of extremist directives online, there could be a stabilizing effect that helps ordinary traders and workers get back to normal life. But that's conditional. Legal action alone won't fix deep socio-economic grievances that fuel movements in the first place. A quick reminder, if you're following this on YouTube, please like and subscribe now. Share this video with friends who need to hear what's happening. Hit subscribe. Thanks! Now, a bit on legal standards, and I'll keep this simple. Finland's laws require prosecutors to show that the accused conduct had the intent, or at least the foreseeable result, of causing serious criminal action. That is why prosecutors look closely at the content of speeches, the timing of directives, any evidence of coordination with armed groups, and financial transactions that may have funded violent activities. Because these events cross borders, investigators also look for communications and transfers that connect actors in Finland with individuals on the ground in Nigeria. These are the technical elements that make the case more than just words on the internet. People will also ask, is this selective enforcement? Why target Ekpa and not others? Those are reasonable questions. Law enforcement agencies say they focus on individuals where there is credible evidence linking speech and actions to criminal outcomes. From the government standpoint, Ekpa's case was high profile and, according to authorities, backed by investigative leads that pointed to criminal culpability. Whether the prosecution is perfect or not, the important test is what evidence is shown in court, how the judges rule, and whether appeals change the result. That is how justice systems should work, through process, not just headlines. Another angle, social media companies. These platforms have faced criticism worldwide for being used to organize violent actions. Ekpa's broadcasts and online posts feature heavily in public discussion. Global platforms are under pressure to police dangerous content without wrongly silencing political speech. This case will likely increase scrutiny on how tech firms handle content that may incite violence across borders. Expect more calls for clearer rules and faster cooperation between platforms and law enforcement. That's an important conversation for every citizen, because online speech impacts real life. Let's think about politics. For President Tinubu and his administration, welcoming Finland's action helps them show responsiveness to security challenges. It sends a message domestically. The government is working internationally to address threats. For opposition figures and movement supporters, the case will be framed differently. Some will call it persecution or political targeting. That split in narratives is normal in heated political climates. The key for national stability will be how leaders on both sides manage public reaction and whether they choose de-escalation over provocation. So, what should we watch for next? First, any court decisions or sentencing outcomes in Finland. Second, formal diplomatic moves such as extradition requests or appeals by either side. Third, reactions inside Nigeria, protests, counter-protests, or a shift in the pattern of sit-at-home orders. Fourth, statements from human rights groups, which often weigh in on whether prosecutions meet international standards. Keep an eye on those four fronts. They will tell us whether this case lowers or raises tensions in the weeks ahead. I also want to remind you, if this report is useful, show your support. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell so you don't miss follow-ups. Share this with someone who needs to know. It helps the channel grow and helps me keep bringing clear updates. Thank you. Let me finish with a calm thought. Protests, agitation, and political struggle often come from real grievances: poor services, insecurity, unemployment. Legal action can remove violent actors or those who criminally profit from unrest, but long-term peace needs politics, jobs, and justice at home. Both the Nigerian government and community leaders should use this moment to talk about solutions that reduce conflict drivers, while the international community helps ensure the rule of law is respected. That combination, justice plus meaningful reforms, gives ordinary people the best chance of living safer, more prosperous lives. If you want a follow-up piece where I break down the Finnish court documents, explain the charges line by line, and discuss the likely legal timetable, say the word. And remember, like and subscribe. Don't forget to leave a comment below. Tell me what you think. Should countries prosecute people living abroad for speech that leads to violence at home? I'll read your comments and we'll discuss them in the next video.